We are now at the midway point of legislative session 2025, and if any bill has not advanced out of the chamber of origin, meaning any bill has not been passed off either the House or the Senate floor, then it will not be moving forward this year. That being said, the rent control bill, HB 1217, was voted off the House floor. Take a listen.
Multifamily loan crisis looms at community banks as community bank delinquencies soar to $6.1 billion. I say again, multifamily loan crisis looms at community banks as their loan delinquencies soar to $6.1 billion.
But Madam Speaker, rent control is not the answer. I want to be really clear that this bill will not stabilize the housing market.
But this striking amendment represents a really dramatic good faith effort by the gentlewoman from the 43rd, and I've appreciated working with her over the last 36 or 48 hours. There's a lot in the underlying bill that I and my colleagues on this side of the aisle don't like. We worry that it will ultimately do more harm to the people it's trying to help than good.
This bill, Madam Speaker, does the absolute opposite of that. It's going to destabilize our housing market. It's going to choke off supply. This is a great bill. It's a great bill for Idaho. It's a great bill for Montana. And it's a great bill for Arizona.
And yet more recently, we've seen in Minnesota, St. Paul. When you look at St. Paul, they implemented rent control in 2021. And in 1 year, they had to get rid of it. That rent control was only 3%. And that 3% was so devastating that the market imploded rapidly. 80% of the builders stopped building there.
New regulations, every time we add regulations to landlords, we see a wave of small independent housing providers sell and move out of state. Maybe not move out of state, but they sell them, and other people buy them, often from out of the area.
Why do we have this problem? I can tell you as somebody who's been a housing provider for 30 years, we have not always had this problem. This is a new problem for the state of Washington, and now we're trying to fix it with a policy that is going to make it absolutely worse. It is not going to provide stability. The only stability and predictability that we're going to have, Madam Speaker, is that I can guarantee you that tenants' rents are going to go up 7% every year, year over year.
The broader economic scale of construction jobs lost. Economists all agree this is not a housing solution. It's a self-inflicted economic wound. Vote no.
The bill passed the House with a vote count of 53 to 42, with 5 Democrats voting down the bill. Most notably, Representative Sharon Tomiko Santos from District 37.
I'm concerned about the impact of extraordinary rising costs on the ability of these landlords to maintain affordable housing units in my district and in yours, Madam Speaker. Insurance, utilities, contractors for maintenance and repairs and more capital improvements, and taxes are all rising.
The bill has changed in some respects, such as removing the late fee cap on residential properties and specifically mentioning vacancy decontrol to ensure rent may be reset between tenants. However, the bill still contains the overarching problem, the 7% annual rent increase cap. So where does the bill go now that it has passed out of the House? Well, the bill will come over to the Senate Housing Committee and will need to go through the entire process of public committee hearings all over again, and will need to clear the Housing Committee and the Senate Ways and Means Committee before having the opportunity to come to the Senate floor for a vote. We believe we can stop this bill in committee on the Senate side. However, we will need your support and presence in public hearings, as well as you contacting your constituent lawmakers. Speaking of your presence, our annual Day on the Hill event had a fantastic turnout, so thank you to everyone who was able to make it to Olympia to speak with lawmakers and discuss with them how rent control is not the answer to the housing crisis in Washington, and talk about some really great alternatives. Some of those great alternative bills discussed were some bills that RHAWA supported and helped draft, and unfortunately, these bills will not be moving forward this session. I want to start by saying these bills went further than they ever have before. In previous years, bills that RHA supports and has helped draft are not even put on a committee agenda for a hearing. This year, we believe these bills received hearings because lawmakers see the sense in these ideas, and legislators wanted something to support that would help tenants end housing, not rent control. These bills were HB 1099, the Tenant Assistance Program, or TAP, would have given tenants short-term gap funding if they were unable to pay rent in the event of a sudden life emergency or crisis. HB 1089 and Senate Bill 5740. These companion bills dealt with eviction reform to improve tenant safety. HB 1088 would have established a task force to overhaul the RLTA, which has barely been touched since its original inception in 1973. And SB 5661, the Harmonization Bill, would have established one supreme law of the land for the entire state to follow, and would not allow local jurisdictions to implement any more restrictive laws. Again, unfortunately, these great bills will not be moving forward, but we are extremely encouraged to see interest in some of the common sense bills that will actually help housing and tenants in Washington. Make sure to keep an eye on your inbox for further bill updates on the rent control bill as we move through the second half of this year's legislative session.